We have a major shift that's happening in Republican politics right now. After Tuesday's election night losses, many Republicans on Capitol Hill are now beginning to distance themselves from Donald Trump heading into the 2026 midterm elections because of how unpopular he is, but also because they're recognizing that as a lame duck president, he's going to be out in a few years. And well, if they want to win re-election, then they have to distance themselves from the president privately and also publicly. Now, one of the big topics of conversation is whether or not they're going to nuke the filibuster. And Trump has literally been begging Republican senators to nuke the filibuster, to end it, to reopen the government, and only use their votes. But no one wants to do that. Most Republicans are not on board with nuking the filibuster, especially those up for re-election heading into 2026. It's a pretty stunning fall from grace for a president who just 9 months ago really had a complete grip on his party, and now, maybe not so much. We'll see what happens next. Spread the word. Full updates on my Substack, linked in bio. Subscribe for free. Follow along for more.
Ever since Tuesday's election, Republicans are trying to distance themselves from Donald Trump, and this could not be any better. They don't want to be associated anymore with him. They are recognizing that the MAGA Trump train is not one they want to be on anymore. Now, of course, nobody is going to forget who they aligned with to begin with. We are going to be holding them accountable, and we are not interested in voting in these people once Trump is gone. But as we know, he is a lame duck president. He only has 3 more years at most. And these people are hoping that maybe we forget that they weren't once aligned with him, but we won't. But I think it's really interesting that all of these people that went so hard for Donald Trump and MAGA now are recognizing that he is, in fact, the loser that he calls everybody else. I mean, it really is kind of poetic justice how much this administration is just losing. The problem is he's trying to bring us all down with him. The economy is at an all-time low. Prices are higher than ever. People can't afford their groceries. Their SNAP benefits have been cut off. Like, it is not going well. And many of us saw this coming.
It's Joe from Georgia. Well, chaos in the Republican Party in the White House. After Tuesday's election, Republicans are starting to see the light. Now, Donald Trump is a lame duck president, folks. He can't run again. So those people who want to be reelected in the United States Congress, the Republicans, guess what? Those coattails of Donald Trump, he won't be on the ballot again. They've been cut off. So the MAGA folks, they didn't care really to show up for him, to help in this past Tuesday's election in any of the states, because it was a total Democrat tsunami. But Republicans are coming out saying, we've got to make a change. They've got to publicly disassociate themselves with the president if they want to be reelected next year, because they see the writing on the wall. So there's going to be a lot of changes here in just the next couple of weeks. You're going to see so many Republicans start to drift away from the president because they have elections to run. In less than a year is election day for them. It didn't work out well for not one person that the president endorsed this election. They all lost. So folks, there is the day of reckoning has showed up in Washington, D.C., and the Republicans, they're scrambling.
Finally, Republicans in Congress are turning on Donald Trump and calling him out for his lies. Now, as you know, cost of living is a huge reason Republicans lost elections last Tuesday. But Donald Trump has started coming out and saying that cost of groceries are down, cost of energy is down. He's just trying to gas his way through. Well, Republicans this time around are not just accepting it, as they are now calling him out. Thomas Massie has directly called him out and said that he is lying to the American people. Marjorie Taylor Greene today went on CNN to say that indeed prices are up under Donald Trump. This is the turn that we needed. And it is amazing that it took the risk of losing their own jobs to turn on Donald Trump. All the damage he was doing to the country made no matter to them so long as they could keep their positions. But now that they realize that their positions are in risk, now they want to stand up to him. So while I'm happy that they're finally doing it, I give them no credit, as they would have followed him down this road so long as Republicans would still win.
After Trump took office, Republicans turned on Latinos, but in last night's election, Latinos turned on Trump so hard, the future of the Republican Party might be in danger. About 15 years ago, Republican strategists realized that the number of eligible Latino voters had gotten pretty large and was only going to go up over time. In response, they made a really strong push to recruit Latino voters into the party, playing up issues that might resonate with the Catholic faith and fear-mongering about countries that many of their families may have fled from. Over time, the data showed that this was working, and a significant number of Latinos were turning to the Republican Party. And this remained true even during Trump's re-election campaign, where he promised mass deportations, but with the caveat that they would only affect the worst of the worst. Well, after months of ICE separating innocent families and racially profiling people on the streets, clearly the Latino community has had enough. In Manassas Park, Virginia, where 46% of the population is Latino, Abigail Spanberger outperformed Kamala Harris by 22 points. That wasn't a one-off. This trend was repeated across multiple different states last night. If these stats continue in this direction, this could be the biggest migration away from the Republican Party in modern history.
Everything in last night's elections, a dominant blue wave spreading through the country, almost like a cleaning. Trump lost everything, a clean sweep for Democrats, and Republicans had better be careful, because if they don't accept and acknowledge and appreciate the significance of what happened last night, they risk getting decimated in 2026. Now, we're going to look at all of it, but why don't we start with the results so we can all get on the same page about exactly what happened? We start in Virginia, where Abigail Spanberger, the Democratic challenger, the Democratic candidate, defeated Winsome Earl Sears, the Republican candidate, by a huge margin, 15 points in Virginia. Virginia is not a blue state. Virginia sometimes votes for Democrats and sometimes for Republicans, and they currently have a Republican governor, Glenn Youngkin. The margin is important here. 4 years ago, Glenn Youngkin won in Virginia by just a couple of points. And yesterday, Spanberger won by 15. That is a roughly 18-point swing in a state that is pretty purple. It also bears mentioning that the Republican candidate, Winsome Earl Sears, did not appear to be playing with a full deck. I mean, something seemed wrong with her. She seemed to be sort of in crisis. Maybe the analogy or metaphor that works is the wheel is spinning, but the hamster is dead. A very odd woman, certainly, but also had political beliefs that were completely whacked out, and she got absolutely crushed. Also in Virginia, the attorney general race was kind of notable because the incumbent Republican Jason Miyares was kicked out by the Democratic candidate Jay Jones. That's notable because Jay Jones, text messages were uncovered in which Jay Jones said that the then House Speaker should be killed along with some Republican children, not language that I would ever endorse or use. And despite that, still won. That's how sick of these Republicans voters are in Virginia, that they chose the guy who said the House Speaker should be killed over the incumbent Republican. We then go to New Jersey, a bluer state, certainly, but the margin here really tells the whole story. Mikey Sherrill, former Democratic Congresswoman, brutalizing Jack Ciattarelli. Ciattarelli actually lost in 2021 to Phil Murphy by a few points, and this time he lost by 13. Yet again, the margin is a lot of the story, and we are seeing large margins here for Democrats and an incredibly important race as well. We then go to New York City, both the most interesting race, but maybe the least consequential nationally insofar as...
Thanks for clicking to watch today's video. It's chaos in the GOP after another stunning election disaster. And this time round, the blame game is all over. Even the MAGA loyalists themselves are not holding back. And you know what? The red wave they promised, it has not come to be. And the frustration is really, coming up so fast. So we have compiled this video for you. We do not own the rights of this video. They belong to the original owners of the video. So let's dive in.
So we're about to see the Republicans in Congress and in the Senate start to back away from Trump. They've got a year to do it, and they're going to start as soon as they can. He can't even get them to kill the filibuster right now. But between just him being Trump, but the message that was sent from the election the other day, it is very apparent that people are done with Trump. And, you know, we have the midterms next year. These people want to keep their jobs. And I knew it was a matter of time before they would start moving away from him. But, you know, that's part of why he throws out the, I'm running for 2028. That's what those hats are about, is to make it look like he's going to continue to have power all the way through and maybe even through 2028. But we know mentally and physically that's not even a possibility. He's taking IQ tests, right? Tiger. That was such a red flag for everybody. I think that alone gave people on the right permission to start backing away. You know, well, he's older, you know, whatever it is. But I think this is a rude wake-up call for J.D. Vance, because if he's on the top of that ticket, they needed Trump on the top of the ticket to win things. JD's not going to win them anything. I don't think people are going to give a flying flip about JD. And maybe his only hope will be to hook up with Erica. Erica Kirk. Like, I've seen the rumors, but like, he may have to go there. And I don't even think even then will work. But think about the Epstein files now. Like, think about how dangerous they would be for now. Like, Mike Johnson's whole job will be to make sure that those don't get out. But I'm also seeing some rumors that they are much worse for Trump than was originally led on. And I think that part of what happened the other night was the Epstein files. I think people are pissed that he has not done the things that he said he would do. They really thought he was going to come up and get all the bad guys. And now it's just looking like he's the bad guy. So you have the Epstein files still lingering there in the background. Mike Johnson still hasn't sworn in the congresswoman from Arizona so that they can't be seen. How long can he hold out on that? But now maybe it would be a good thing, because it would expose Trump and kind of let them off the hook, like, oh, we had no idea. Except that you wouldn't let it come out for a year. Like, they just look bad in every direction. And then trying to say like, oh, well, we're going to run on affordability. Now, how can you run on affordability when you have the president saying it's the best economy that's ever been? All the prices are coming down. The Thanksgiving dinner is going to be 25% less than it was last year. And the inflation rate is at 3%, which it's been since he got in here. But from people that I've seen online that keep track of every penny they spend, they believe that inflation is actually much higher. I don't know. That bag of candy I looked at the other day looked pretty damn high. A little tiny bag was on clearance for $11, and it sold for $16. So numbers aren't matching up. We just had the worst jobs report that we've had since 2003. We lost 153,000 jobs in October. So there just is no good news. There's no good news on the horizon. It's like he did that plane of him dropping poop on everyone. Now it's like he's dangling from the plane, and they're going to just get ready to just drop him. And you got the Supreme Court who's going to take the power of making the emergency whatever to do the tariffs. It's all going downhill. I also wonder, like, will the Supreme Court start to pull away as well? Because they know when the Democrats get in there, hopefully they pack the courts. If they don't pack the courts, that is one of those instances where we riot. I'm not kidding. We have to pack the courts. We cannot do that again. So we have to win big in the House and the Senate when we have those chances to do that, with real people that aren't going to like backstab us, Cinema, Manchin. But, I would expect soon, because I don't know how they run out and talk about affordability. They know that that's what won this election. Well, it's that, but it's just Trump. But here's my other question. How do you think the ICE rates are going to go when they start turning on Trump? Like, I feel like they can all back it up or act like it's all fine because they want to stay in Trump's good graces and Stephen Miller's good graces. But when Trump's gone, Stephen Miller will have no power. And he's really a lame duck president now as it is. So I have to wonder if the ICE raids will back off a little bit, because that is also part of why he lost. I saw interviews with people that voted for him because they wanted the deportations. But then they were like, that's not, I thought they were going to go get the bad guys, and they're destroying families, and this isn't okay. And we gained back the areas that had a lot of Mexicans, or just even black and brown people. We gained the areas that we lost during the election, and then some. So I think a lot of that has to do with not just the economy, but also what they're seeing with ICE. So all the things that he ran on I just think are going to flip on him. I think all these ICE videos are just going to look worse and worse and worse. And how do you keep protecting that? Because you're essentially just protecting Trump and Stephen Miller when you do. So they are in a clusterfuck situation far sooner than they thought they would be. And again, this is why they have tried to move so quickly, is just in case either Trump's body or brain gave out, or we ran into this situation. But I think they've been lying to him about his polling numbers. And I think they lied to themselves about all of it. I think Mike Johnson has got to be doing hard drugs at night to survive this. I know he lives with a preacher or minister in a home in Washington, D.C., and maybe they're praying together every night. But, they better pray a lot harder, because they are in big trouble.
Donald Trump's influence over the GOP is facing its toughest test yet. He was once the face of the Republican strength, but right now everyone is pointing fingers at him, saying that he's the one who is dragging down the Republican Party. This is after the recent, election losses that they experienced as a party. And you know what? People are starting to feel as if, the Republican Party is no longer the place to be. Some are even, some are even exiting the party. Others are saying it is divided than it's supposed to be. And guys, what do you think? Does this election laws mark the end of the beginning of Trump's grip in the GOP, or will MAGA come back again even stronger? Drop your thoughts. I love to read them, and also don't forget to like, share, and also subscribe to our channel. Thank you so much for watching. See you on our next video.